right. We know we're a little bit behind today, but we had some technical difficulties, and this is how we're going to make it work. So you guys can communicate with us here live. Today in studio, we have four incredible gentlemen. So the first one.
What about five? What about me?
I'm sorry, five. My husband.
Yes.
The co-host.
Yeah.
Yes, Billy. He's the most important one.
We are live now, see?
We are
Hey,
live.
that's great. That's great. And we're going to be up close and personal.
We're
So
going to be up close and
Up in the
personal.
grill.
So we have Guy Howe, we have Sam Struth, and we have Kenny Moore, and then we have George Webb,
Yeah,
who is
as
behind the camera right now,
Yep.
working it for us.
there you go.
Working it.
Oh, so I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves and tell us. We're going to start with Sam today.
Okay.
We're mixing it up.
We're going to start with AMVETS. Okay, let's go with AMVETS. I know their story. Here you go.
Well, for you guys that haven't been part of it, we're like our third or fourth try.
We've got our story straight now.
I may not be Sam Struth. I might be Kenny Moore. No, I'm Sam Struth. I'm Commander AMVETS Post 1942 in Monroe, Michigan. AMVETS is an organization that's open to all veterans, no matter when you served or how you served. Prior to becoming the AMVET commander, I spent 6 years in the Army, got out in 1980, became a truck driver over the road, and did that for about 30 years, and then retired in 2014 and got involved with AMVETS in 2015.
Great.
So move on to the next one.
Kenny. We'll get Guy last.
Ken Moore, and I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I belong to all these organizations we have here tonight, the AMVETS, Disabled Veterans, the American Legion, the VFW, the Vietnam Veterans, and right now I'm just kind of do a lot of service. Whatever these guys want to do, I get involved with them. Many years ago, we started Flags Over Veterans, and in which we raised a lot of money from locally here, and we put in flagpoles in all the cemeteries in Monroe County that didn't have a 20-foot pole in them, and that was real successful. We only have 2 more cemeteries to do, and we're just waiting for all the foliage and all that to be removed from them, so we can put our flags poles up. So I'll let you go on to Guy. And then
Excuse me, but you also did the one at the
we also put yours up out there too. Yes,
Yeah.
farm.
at the farm. Yes,
Appreciate that. It's awesome.
that was okay. You had veterans out there, and
Yeah,
you didn't have a pole, so we
Yeah,
got
it's
honor the
beautiful.
veterans.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I just get wound up.
And you had a flag project for downtown, right?
Yes, Sam and I approached the mayor and council about putting a flag on every other, every other light pole in the business district in the city of Monroe. Probably from Elm Street down to 7th or 8th Street, and from Macomb Street up to around the Knights of Columbus. And we had some money left over from the flags, and we would like to give that to the city of Monroe to help in this project, but we haven't heard from them in several months now. So if anybody's got any pull there with the mayor and council down there, put a little bug in them right there that we'd like to do this project and honor our veterans. Monroe is a military town when you think about it. We've got a national park down here. You got Custer here. We've had battles on the River Raisin. So why not honor the veterans and put a flag up on the electric poles? So that's what we want to do.
Awesome.
Thank you for your service.
It's my honor.
And thank you for your service too, Sam. And now,
Hi, my name's Guy Howe. I'm a retired Navy chief. I am the commander for the Disabled American Veterans Chapter 137 in Monroe. It's been there a little over 3 years now. We have 3 service officers. They're located on the Pleasance Road, and those guys are there. We help veterans go out and get their benefits, file all their paperwork, take care of all the red tape involved with that, and they've been very successful to this point so far. Just tough finding the veterans to help and getting a veteran to come out and ask for help.
That's awesome. So I want to turn the camera around so we have a little bit of you as well.
okay,
So
I'll
Steve-
do that for a second here.
Okay. All right.
I'm the DC journalist here. who is helping launch the Neighborhood News Hour. So I volunteered because my dad is a vet also. He was in the Army, like you, Sam. He was in Guadalcanal, Bougainville, and Leyte Gulf. Well, not Leyte Gulf, but the Philippine action. I don't know exactly, Mindanao or one of those, in New Georgia. And he was also a disabled veteran like Kenny. So, and your organization is Disabled American Veterans, right? The DAV. Right. So this is very interesting to me, and I'll turn the camera back around to the real heroes that really created this history. So we'll go back. Do you want to take questions from the crowd? Or?
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
if they
you
have any questions, have them hop in.
Yep, I'm gonna have you scooch back just a little bit.
Okay,
Yep,
okay.
so you can kind of get us
Get a
all.
bigger thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
get a bigger thing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about how we met. Just so the viewers, I'm looking over there, just so the viewers know how we got connected. So Alvin Bond is part of the VFW in Monroe, right?
Yep.
He is the vice commander?
Yes.
Senior vice commander. And so he had come to one of our family events that we put on at the farm, and he said, oh my gosh, you have to meet Sam and you have to meet Kenny. See, Kenny, were like the superhero that I had to meet. And so you guys were gracious enough to come out to the farm, right? And you guys wanted a tour to see what we did, talk about our program, how we were helping veterans. And it was very funny because after the tour, Kenny said, I'm looking around and I don't really, something's missing. What's missing here? And there was no flag, so we did not have a flag. And you guys had surprised us with that, along with an amazing donation that you gave us as well. So you guys have been huge supporters, and that flag stands proudly in the middle of the farm. And you'll have to see it because we have a plaque now dedicated to you guys too that was put on it, so it's really cool.
Well, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
so it's super cool.
Yep.
So I love working with you guys in different organizations. I know sometimes not everybody plays well in the sandbox, right? But I know it's important because we have one mission, right? It's to take care of our veterans.
That's right.
Right? And so I know you guys have supported me, and I want to be able to support you guys in any way that I definitely can support you. And that's one of the reasons that I have you here, so you could talk about your organizations, what you do for veterans, how you can help veterans, how we can help you, how we can partner together in future events. So I'd like you to start, if you would, Guy, talk a little bit about your organization and how it's helping the veterans and that type of aspect.
Okay. So, primary role of a service officer is to sit with the veteran and determine what paperwork needs to get done for them to at least get a file, get things started so that they can start progressing down the line of getting their veterans benefits. Everything from disability to just about anything else that they could possibly need. But we go to school for this. They spend a week in school a year, go up, learn what they need to learn all the paperwork, then they come back to the office and they man an office. We've actually got an office in Monroe where the service officers are there and available. Additionally,
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Just if they're already on a health care plan, can they, is that advantageous sometimes? The veterans plan will help them with their medicine costs is that, you work with that too, or?
we work at getting their disability as our primary goal, is getting the disability. Now,
Okay.
the other side of our chapter is we also do a lot of fundraising. So we have funds to assist veterans.
Okay.
So we've done things like a veteran needed a lift chair. So we went out and got a lift chair. We supported your organization.
Yes.
Trying to help get those things off the ground because it's helping veterans. Our number one charter is to support a disabled veteran. We do the fundraising to where the funds have to support veterans. And then we do have a general fund where we can go out and do other outreach programs as well. But it's all centric around the veterans.
My dad had a lot of trouble moving toward the end of his life. He had the back, he had hurt it. And so with canes and stuff, do you do mobility assist, that kind of thing? Or is that something else, again, that another organization like would help with?
We could probably help fund it, or we have a lot of connections where we could reach out and help them find the right people to do that.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody that's aware of William Bruck here in the Visiting Angels, the things that he does.
Okay.
And that would be one of our outreaches as well,
Right.
to help him
Yeah,
get
his
connected with
organization
them.
is amazing.
Exactly.
He's got an organization called Visiting Angels where he does in-house care for, veterans and elderly people.
Mhm.
But the VA is supportive of his program, so this way the veterans don't have to pay anything.
There's a lot of things that his company has to offer, and Visiting Angels are all veteran-owned franchises. They're all across the United States. And Will has basically established the Monroe franchise. And then he expanded to Adrian or Lenawee County and also Lucas County in Toledo. But his company handles a lot of VA authorized in-home care that has to do with taking care of an individual.
Mhm.
And it doesn't go into the house cleaning and stuff like that, but if the veteran needs assistance, he's a VA approved or corporation company. So-
You know, Vietnam was a different kind of war, whereas War 360, and that was sort of what my dad had. And sometimes there's psychological effects of war, and you know, the PTSD. Do you do that sort of thing?
Do I?
I mean,
No.
well, I meant you were a Vietnam vet, and what part of Vietnam were you in?
I was in Saigon,
You were in Saigon
Don Sinoot Air Base.
with the war dogs and
Oh,
everything.
yes.
Yeah. So you were training, but then you were going out into the field with these dogs.
We were out in the jungles by yourself, just you and your dog.
Were you allowed to take your dog home, just out of curiosity? You weren't allowed to, because I knew.
Yeah, you were at home over there in the war, right?
Yeah.
He was with him.
I don't think they call that home, but.
No.
I understand they can have their dogs now, but
Right.
unfortunately, all of our dogs, when they went to Vietnam, they died in Vietnam.
They were classified equipment.
Right.
Oh, wow,
And you
wow.
can't bring equipment home.
Because they have these shows about the war dogs, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah.
all.
Reunite them.
Yeah, I interviewed a vet who had the bomb sniffing dog that you were talking about. So I'm sorry, I wanted to just follow up and ask these questions because the PTSD thing. I mean, I interviewed a lot of vets, and then they're trying to stay away from the over medicating, and psychological help and all that, so they don't get in that trap.
Well, that's
That's what my program is.
That's yours program.
That's my
Okay,
program.
okay,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Little blessing.
Yeah, so little,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Little Blessings,
I got it. Okay.
and this is the program that they support.
Okay.
So we at Little Blessings have a year-long equine therapy program. That
I saw
helps-
your brochure. It was
Yeah,
great.
that helps the veterans transition from, and you just don't, PTSD is not the only word that we use. It's a very common word that people like to use, right? And it's way more than that, which I've shared a couple times. It's from the time you enter the military, you know, they do basic training, they teach you to go to war. That's what they teach you in basic training.
Yeah.
So, and then you go and you serve, right? And then whether it's combat trauma, sexual trauma, survivor's remorse, there's a wide variety of things that happen, right? And so it's not just PTSD. Everybody likes to put it in one bucket, and we don't put it in one bucket because it doesn't fit in one bucket.
Right.
So, and it's a multitude of things that the veterans go through that is a commonality. We had I don't know if you guys watched the show a couple weeks ago, we had a Vietnam veteran on, and he had put himself in a facility 14 times, right? And the things that he said, as he was sharing his story, that I went home and I was like, oh my gosh, we use those same words, right? Like, I don't like civilians, I don't trust people, I don't, and so from Vietnam to now, that commonality is still there,
Yeah.
right? And that's the piece that, of no fault of the civilians, they don't understand, right? They're not going to understand
Right.
it, but that is one of our missions too, is that we help educate the civilians, right? And we're trying to help the veterans transition into the civilian sector, so it's not such a horrible place, right? So we do introductories slow, we do introductories with community partnerships, like what we do as far as events, and so we're like trusted organizations, right?
Well, we were
Like-minded, yeah.
really happy to find Little Blessings Veteran Outreach because we don't have the PTSD therapy in Monroe County.
Oh.
There's no hospital offers it, no medical facility offers it. You know, there's no place for anyone suffering from any type of post-traumatic stress to turn to.
Mm.
And veterans are they're a different kind of person. A veteran is less apt to ask for help than your average person. Because they're less apt to admit that they need help. And it's mostly, they have to admit to themselves that they need help before they seek help. And if there's no place in the county for them to find this help, they're lost. And that's one of the things we're here tonight, is to promote the fact that we have service officers that can help you get the help. We have organizations that you can come hang out with because you're a veteran. Veterans understand veterans.
Yeah, that's the thing about the farm, with the animals and the safe spaces it is, they can
Yeah.
come there, there's no judgment, there's just to be around the animals, and we all have our own little issues, maybe upstairs, maybe not obviously as like a veteran,
Right.
but where you can go there and there, because there's a lot of them that volunteer that I've seen that have went from not even taking a hug and very isolated
Yeah.
to it just from the garden space to just helping groom on the animals, and just all that is just, and it's so rewarding, it really is, and it is,
To watch
it's-
them grow.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it is sad because we're men, we're defiant, we're proud, and in a military, I'm sure even with women, and, you know, look at what that you represent. So that pride and to ask for help, you know, there's some people that can, hey, can I bum a cigarette? You know,
Yeah.
but some people just don't.
Female
Well,
veterans are less apt to talk about their service than a male veteran.
Right.
Really?
So, yeah,
Why is
so
that?
the female veterans are, I mean, if you look at the numbers, they are not served. I mean, we know the male veterans are a bigger population,
Sure.
but as far as the service, they don't,
There's less women, percentage-wise, there's less women involved in veterans organizations than men. You know, and why is that? I don't know. Is it partially because women were treated different for all those years? You know, I don't know. Josh?
And I was gonna say, I mean, we're all talking about how tough it is to make that transition, and part of that is because what we're trained is to become independent, to become self-sufficient, to be able to lead and do those things. The one thing they don't teach you how to do is how to become a civilian again.
Right.
And ensure that they ingrain into everybody what's available for you, right? I mean, it was years before I truly understood that. I mean, when I
Right.
got out,
Yeah.
it was a family environment. Everybody you served with, you knew everything about them.
Right.
I've been a civilian now for 17 years. I've been retired for 17 years. And the wife and I still talk about the relationships we had in the service. Because I worked 50 miles from home. I live nowhere near the people that I served with, you know, that I work with. So I don't see them after work. You spent your life with the people you served
Right.
with, you know, either underway or on the base or whatever
Battle
it is.
buddies.
You do not have that camaraderie or those relationships. So there's nobody to talk to once you come home. And a lot of people don't understand or can relate to the things you want to talk about, right? My kids were the same way. They were Navy brats, right? Everywhere we went, they had to learn to make new friends. People just thought it was odd, and their friends couldn't even relate to them because they had traveled so much, and they're like, yeah, no, you didn't meet the queen, you didn't do this, you know? And those were all things that they had done, you know?
And that's
So-
exactly why we do what we do, right? So it's more than just the equine program, it's about the family. We do once a month family gatherings. We just did a chili dinner a couple
Mondays ago, last week, as a matter of fact. We had live entertainment, the whole family's come out, they bring a dish. And so it's really about creating that space, because I know when I got out in 2017, like, literally, I thought I'd lost my mind, because I'm like, what is happening? I was full throttle for 25 years, and then all of a sudden I was nothing, right? And knowing that myself, knowing that there was nothing there, out there, right? For somebody to understand what I'm talking about, I really wanted to create that space, right? And it's organizations like us working together, right? And I'm not trying to do the things the DAV does. I'm not trying to do the things the AMVETS do, right? So we each play a very important role, right?
Piece of the puzzle.
And we each play, you know, with the populations, right? We're from different eras, right?
Yep.
So you guys bring so much wisdom to the table, right? For me, you know, and for our veterans. And to hear things like what you guys are saying, this is the reason for the show, right? So veterans who are watching, or veteran families who are watching can connect with our organizations and know that, oh my gosh, he said the exact same thing I've been sitting in my room for 2 months thinking.
Right? Now they're putting a face with it, they're putting a location where they can go, and that's exactly why we're doing the show.
I have a quick question about AMVETS, and are you a member of AMVETS too, Kenny? Yeah. Do you overlay and have your meetings like where the VFW halls are? Is that kind of how it works?
At the VFW hall in Monroe, it's VFW Post 1138. And they are home to 6 or 7 different organizations that are all active duty or veteran related. There's Post 1138 VFW, and then the commander is Bob Sabina, and then there's the Matt Urban American Legion Post 40, and I'm not sure what the guy's name is that runs that, but there's Marine Corps League 157, Detachment 157, and that's all former Marines that get together once a month. Vietnam Veterans Association, of course the VFW Auxiliary, and there's another organization, isn't actually in the family, but they meet there, and that's Military Families of Monroe County.
We had them on last week.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, yeah.
And they're a really cool group that supports those that are active. You know, they take care of, you know, their parents and wives and husbands of those that are actually actively in the military and especially deployed overseas. And that's how they got their start was, Tammy's started this group because her son got deployed.
Yep,
So-
send them a care package and then
Yep.
it just built from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done
So-
good stuff, yeah.
So yeah, there are a
Would
bunch
you,
of organizations
that overlay, can I ask one more question about the disability and qualifying? I'm gonna just flip it on me for just a second. My dad was, he was always kind of apprehensive about asking for the disability. But as he got older, you know, it got to the point where this was a war injury and he needed the disability, right? But he was always afraid that the guys in Washington are gonna say no. He waited and waited and went through a lot of years of just intense pain. So is there a way to have outreach to those people and trying to say, come on out to just a barbecue and then learn that you can get through? I worked with a Navy commander, John B. Wells, in the appeals court when they did get turned down. And he is not a judge advocate, but he's an advocate for the veterans, and they go up in front of a 3-board person panel.
Higher level appeal.
And they tell the story. So veterans who have been turned down or only got 50% disability, who really are 100% or 75, there is an appeal process, I know.
We have several appeals in process right now.
Okay.
And what happens there is the veteran comes in,
Mhm.
they apply.
Mhm.
Many times, the initial application gets denied.
Yeah. Mhm.
If you did it on your own and you got denied and you're not sure what your next step is, come see us,
Yeah.
because we'll show you how to appeal it. They've won, I think, just this year, I think they won 6 or 7 appeals already. A couple of them became 100%ers. And the
Yeah.
nice thing is, it goes back to when you started it.
Yeah, retroactive,
If
yeah.
if your initial one is denied, you have a year to file an appeal.
Yeah.
And that clock continues to tick. That way it'll go back to there. And you just continue going through the process. Sometimes I've seen people that have had to go 4 or 5 times. I've seen guys that have had to work through this 7 or 8 years. And well, I'm
It's
telling you,
horrible.
the team that we
Yeah.
have,
Freaking horrible.
Yeah.
if the team that we have in Monroe, those guys are like dog with a bone.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't give up. They continue working with our veterans and continue to find different things. They have the relationships at the state level to ensure that the documents are getting done right, getting reviewed right, getting submitted, and getting answers.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I was denied twice before I got my disability,
Really?
so I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to go through a board right there. My doctors wrote letters for me said this man should never have to work again, so they gave me 100% disability.
Yeah.
But the veterans that they're trying to get a hold of here too, they need to go up to the Veterans Hospital in Ann Arbor. If you've never been there, you need to go up there and get qualified. You know, you never know when you have to go back up there, and they treat you right up there. You know, so I know veterans that have never been there, and I said, I'll take you, and take you up there and get you registered. They give you a card, so you know that you're now a part of the Veterans Hospital, and that's what you need. If you don't ever go back, that's fine, but if you need them, go back up to Ann Arbor.
And there's a number of things that people qualify for that they don't know they qualify for.
Right.
And that's part of our outreach is to these people to tell them, you know, it's different today. When I first got out of the Army in 1980, the VA, it was a place you did not want to have to go. And I was fortunate that I applied immediately after I got out for a service-connected disability. And it was approved. But these people that wait, or it may not develop for a number of years, then they have this obstacle of connecting it to their service. And that's where
Right.
the appeals come in. And that's, you know, you get doctors to write, hey, this is the only thing that could have caused this, you
Yeah.
know. But, you know, things like tinnitus, the ringing in your ears.
No, wow.
I never knew.
I've been denied twice for that already.
Really?
Yeah, and like right now, it's, yeah.
I still got
Mine
every day,
was,
I
you
get
know, I
ringing all
applied
the
for it and
time.
it was
We're getting that all
approved.
the time.
Really?
Yeah.
And the thing is too, continuously, they're adding more and more things from the
Yep.
Vietnam era
Right.
that you now qualify for. If you were in country, if you were in this location, if you were in that location, you automatically qualify.
I know
There
they're
might
doing it with
not
the burn
be-
pit. Are you guys doing burn pit stuff
Mhm.
now? Okay.
We're doing, I mean, these guys get a list every month. These are what you need to be looking at now. This is where they're at. Even if you do not have an issue today,
Right.
if you were in country, talk to the DAV.
Yeah.
See if you qualify for something.
And I think
See
this
if there's
is,
something there, because you may need it in
Right.
the
Yeah.
future.
Like a closed mouth
Yeah.
don't get fed.
This is so great because they're, like you guys, all three of you have said, right, that veterans do not want to, they don't wanna bother anybody, right?
Right.
So this is the problem with isolation, right? Because we are as a team, right, and then we're taught as a team, right? And then we get out and then we're an I, right? And the veterans isolating think that they are helping and that they are, serving their families better by isolating, right? Serving their community better by isolating, right? When in fact, that's not it, right? So by having you guys' faces here and showing, come to our organizations and
Yeah.
help, you know, we can help you. You know, that is so key because so many of them have no idea.
And
Because it's so overwhelming because they're like, thanks for your service, see ya.
Yeah, there's no
And
book they give you or any pamphlets or anything. which
I
is
just want
sad.
everybody to understand that we're not asking you to come join our organizations.
Correct.
So we get your dues money. What we're asking you to do is come out, see us, let us help you. And if you've got any issues, if we don't have an answer, we'll find an answer. And we as veterans, sometimes you hear this, you know, from civilians that say, well, you guys think you're special. Well, yeah, we do kind of think we're special. Do you owe me anything? No. But we make up 7% of the population. So I kind of feel that, yeah. And we're just out there looking for the rest of the 7% because we relate with them better. You know,
I have, my son is a doctor, and he serves in Los Angeles at a veterans hospital. And the number one thing that he had told me was the vets tend to describe their symptoms and pain like they were describing it to a doctor, but they don't have the doctor with putting it in the right box. And if you don't put it in the right box, it doesn't go through. And so, have you found that to be true as well?
That's where, during the interview process, we can help them understand where it fits in the book. Right? We never make a determination, don't get me wrong, that's not our job.
Right.
Our job is to complete an effective interview, and then send them to their doctor.
So you help with the
This is-
paperwork?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, okay,
That's what our guys do.
Yeah.
They fill out the paperwork, so you don't even have to know how to read or write. We'll
Oh,
read
wow.
it to you.
Okay.
All right,
Wow.
if you can't process it, we'll sit there and read it to you. We'll spend the time to make sure you understand it. We'll have the conversations, and these guys have had enough conversations. They know the questions to ask, so we can help you be successful when you go see your doctor, right? Because you have to go see a doctor. We're not doctors.
Right.
I mean.
Several doctors.
Yeah, then you get bounced
Several
around
doctors.
quite a bit,
Right,
yeah.
now paperwork gets done, we tell you, this is where you send it. Let's put it in this envelope,
Right.
here's a stamp, let's go.
But what's so crazy is like, so like my, I've been to the claims doctor, right? So that's different, so versus I have a physician at the VA that I see, right, every 6 months. And then when I was complaining about not being able to hear and ringing in my ears, they sent me to a claims physician to validate whether I could receive that claim or not. Well, the 10% would be great, right? But I really wanna hear more than I want the 10%.
Yeah.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
You
And
wanna
it is
correct
so
it.
frustrating for me, right? To not be, it is so muffled, and they're like, nope, you're fine. I'm telling you, I'm not fine, cause I have ringing in my ear and I can't hear out of this one very good. You know, but because I didn't hit whatever that quota was to go, yes, she can have that 10%, you know, for the hearing claim, they say my hearing's fine.
Well, to kind of go along with that story, when I became disabled because of my back, my lumbar. And when I went to see the claims doctor, I was using a cane. You know, I'd had 2 lumbar surgeries, and I just wasn't getting around like a 20-year-old. And so when I went to the doctor, I was using the cane for stability. Well, I get a letter back from them, and it said, you know, that they were questioning my use of the cane, like I was trying to,
Right.
you know,
Trying to gain the system.
right, trying to gain their sympathy,
Right.
because the cane wasn't prescribed by the doctor. And
My
I-
dad walked with 2 canes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I,
These are
you
those
know,
boxes you were talking about.
yeah.
And I said, what? And they said, you know, well, you're not prescribed the cane. I said, well, that's the only reason I wasn't prescribed the cane is because I already had a cane. I didn't need the insurance company to give me $20
Right.
back for the cane.
Right.
I said, you know, you want a prescription for the cane, I'll call my doctor. And when I called my doctor and I said, hey, and they said, no problem.
Yeah.
You know, so it was, you
It's
know,
those stupid
Yeah.
things that they make us go
Stuff you
through,
have to
and
go
that's,
through.
That's part of it too, is the frustration, right? Is that we become so frustrated that they're like, never mind, I don't even care about it, right? When in fact, the disability could change their whole life,
yeah.
right? It could change their whole life. It
Yep.
could have a drastic impact on their finances, right? Their mental health as
Yep.
well.
Quality
Because
of
now they're
life.
self-sufficient
Yeah.
financially,
Right.
and they can survive
Yeah.
without having to worry about where's that next meal coming from? How am I gonna get my prescriptions?
All that,
All of
yeah.
that thing, all of those things go away that your everyday individual really doesn't think about it. Because your everyday guy, he's making a living, he's able to live, he has nothing even under the hood that's wrong. Kinda hard to relate with, that's a good word, kinda hard to relate with
Yeah.
that when you're not facing those challenges.
Yeah.
My brother just went 100%. And it was a life changer for him. You know, I mean, he suffers PTSD and a myriad of other things, but when he finally went 100%, it literally changed his life.
Sure, takes a lot of that stress off, the other things that are adding to it, you know, the mental stuff and everything. And you'd think too that some of that, like when you were saying when you first went, the intake part of it, meaning like-minded people like yourselves, understand one another, but here's this person that's like when we used to do the drug-free work programs, the person's got the plaques on the wall, but they've never drank out, had abuse problems, but yet they're gonna tell you. So some of that already puts up a barrier because they don't know, and then like intake might think you're special because you're here to get a handout, and I think that's what you're saying, where it turns these
Yeah.
people off. They don't, not only being proud, but if they're gonna have to face somebody like that.
Well, back in the
it's not
day,
cool.
and I know that's an overworked term,
Right.
but through the 70s and the 80s and most of the 90s, anybody that applied at VA, their attitude was that, you're here for a handout.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't that we were there for a handout, we were there for what we had justly deserved, you know, and am I saying everyone did that? No, there were people that went in just for a free ride, but I mean, most of them weren't, and that's one of the attitudes that's changed at the VA, because I've talked to some people, say, oh, I don't wanna deal with them people, all they're gonna do is say no, and it's because they're used to the old VA. They're not, you know, they haven't been around the system in the last 10, 12 years. And this system has really changed a lot.
I had a question. President Trump campaigns a lot on this hotline, that the hotline, has that improved things, you know, as far as there was that wait time issue in some of the VA hospitals?
Kenny can address all of the access, because he gets all his medical care at the VA hospital. You know, you can address the wait time for
Appointments and
appointments.
stuff?
I think it kinda depends right there now. I've got an appointment next Monday and Tuesday with two different doctors up there. But, same as Jamie right there, you have an assigned doctor, but he may only wanna see you 6 months. If you get sick in between all that, then they'll tell you to go to the ER up in there. So, but the VA has been good to me, but getting back to what they said, when I come out of Vietnam, and I was there 66 and 67, and that's when the Agent Orange was out there. Now, we would take our dogs and go out we worked strictly nights. And, like I said, you're out there by yourself, and you're walking through grass there that's as tall as you are, way over your head. So I didn't know if you're gonna get shot or snake bit, one of the two. And, after a period of time, we walk out there, and there's no grass. It was just like they come in with a bulldozer and, you know, took it all out of there. Well, that was the Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I was having some problems, and I went to the VA hospital, and they wouldn't admit anything about Agent Orange.
Yeah.
And it's been a few years now, but now they do go along, and there's different things that you get from Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny just recently had a heart valve replacement.
Yeah.
And to give you some idea as to the speed of which they do it, from the time that he knew he needed it, what was it, 3 weeks you had
Yeah.
the procedure done?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I mean,
They
great.
took me
just-
right in, and then 2 days later, I went home.
Yeah.
Wow,
I
that's
mean, you
great.
know, but I mean,
When they called and checked on him.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, called every day
Yep.
for about a
That's
week.
with the VA?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
How long ago was that?
it's
it
been,
was just last year.
it was just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
that's
Four
right.
years
Just
though?
a couple months ago.
Yeah. Well, that's great turnaround. I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
They're
and
good.
it really is,
Little plug there for,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really depends on the physician you see, right?
Yes,
So I just had to have a procedure done, right? And I went up to Ann Arbor for the first time, and they're like, they did not put me out enough for this procedure. So when I woke up, they're like, oh, you gotta have it again, which totally thrilled me to pieces, right? So then I went back a month later to have it again. Well, I had some sort of spasm. They were doing an EGD, and so I was having a spasm, and I went into hypoxia. They had to wake me up during my surgery, so they couldn't even complete it, you know? And they were like, you know, 2 hours later, they're like, well, the next time you have this, you're gonna have to be intubated, right? And I'm like, and again, it's for a claim, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, something that I've had directly related to the military, why I have it, right? And now, because they couldn't do it, right, I've asked those questions, now what happens, right? And they're like, you gotta come back in 3 years. Okay, so it really just depends on, because I see, they are my only medical source, I don't have
Right.
civilian insurance.
one of the things about that I've interviewed some vets with the Agent Orange is also hepatitis C, and they because there was heroin use in Vietnam in some areas, they want to say, oh no, you were a drug addict or something. And you know, I've interviewed so many vets that have said, no, I had never did that ever. And that's one of the things, the Agent Orange side effect. And these viruses can live inside of you until you have a stressful period 20 years later sometimes. they're like ticking time bombs, but then you have somebody who doesn't understand that, and I just think that's, have you
Well, first,
experienced
to
any?
start with right there, I didn't even know there was any drugs in Vietnam. Nobody around me
Yeah,
did any types of drugs at all. They might go get a couple bombs of beers, but that was about the extent of it. But that Agent Orange, and my wife still today, I had a son that passed away in 2004, and he was born with a bad heart, and it was right after I come back from Vietnam, and we still think there that Agent Orange had something to do with that.
yeah, because there's viruses that can be passed along, and then the defect is passed along, yeah. Yeah, that's this, I think everything with coronavirus has maybe made people a little bit more aware that viruses can cause very serious health effects and change your genome and all that sort of thing, and change your kids, you know, and the effects that it has on birth defects and so forth. So, yeah, just interesting. I talked to some people at On-K, veterans there, and they had just, to create these LZs in the larger airports and heliports, they had just coated the place with Agent Orange. I mean, from one end to the other.
Ours was to Townsend, it was too.
Yeah.
But we didn't know what it was. Nobody told us.
Right.
Didn't know anything about Agent Orange till I come back to the States.
Really?
But the veterans, if they need some help, they gotta go to the VA hospital.
Isn't it the same thing with these burning pits thing within Iraq?
Yeah, they are, they've probably within the last year really come out with that. So where I was at, I had to take classified materials to the burning pit, and so I participated in that.
Well, you know what the burning pits were in Vietnam, though? They were train buckets.
Oh, okay.
They drag them off and dump diesel fuel in and set them on fire.
And it's no longer, for Vietnam, it's no longer just boots on the ground either. It's now Brownwater Navy is also being able to receive benefits from that now.
Right. Okay, so we have
Really talked about tonight all the things that you guys can help veterans with, right? You guys are all amazing. Thank you for your service. Is there anything that you guys want to talk about with any upcoming events that you have, or what you see 2021 looking like, since we're at the tail end of rounding the tail end of 2020, as far as what you're gonna do, fundraisers, events?
Well, we're hoping it goes back to normal,
Oh, it will.
because AMVETS would put on 3 or 4 spaghetti dinners every year, and it was always April, July, October, and we would always have a real good turnout, and that was one of our fundraisers. We sponsored the Veterans Day at the fair every year, and that takes a little bit of money to put that on. We have a lot of nice sponsors that jump on board with just about every food vendor at the fair is a sponsor of that event.
I was so bummed.
Yeah, me too.
So bummed.
Because
So Sam had got us.
since I get to be the one that coordinates all
Yeah.
that, I get free food.
Yeah.
For the whole week?
So
Can't you
Sam,
tell?
yeah, so Sam, provided an opportunity for Little Blessings to set up and have a table there,
I
right?
forgot about that.
And the woman we spoke to, what is her name?
Delight.
Delight. She was so excited about us being there and being
Yep.
part of the fair, and I thought, what an amazing opportunity to reach all of these individuals, right? And again, this is how we work together, right? You're like, oh,
Yep.
it would be a great space for you, and heck yeah.
And then it didn't come off, so.
No, but that's all right.
Well, that's
Yeah.
one
It was
thing
'cause of
Sam
COVID.
has really worked
Yeah.
hard at since he became the AMVETS commander, is getting all of us engaged as a single force. Yes, we do our thing independently, but Sam has really been the hub that has tried to pull all these other organizations together to work as one when it makes sense.
Oh, good.
All in the same direction.
Right, we'll all hear about, hey, you know what, this guy has this need. We get a hold of Sam, Sam reaches out to every organization, and we each kick in a little bit, and we're able to help an individual.
Right.
And we can help a lot more individuals that way.
Sure.
And it's,
That's cool.
yeah, Sam has been very instrumental in that.
Well, and that was how Flags Over Veterans came off, was through that network. I just started calling the different American Legion and VFW posts, cause they're the most plentiful in the county. Of course, you know, I got to know Guy, and that was a no-brainer, I was gonna call him. But, you know, I had, well, Senator Zorn, Representative Bellino, Representative Shepherd, they were all on our committee. You know, and, you know, that was how that whole Flags Over Veterans thing came
And
up.
Wahlberg, can't
And-
forget him.
Well, yeah,
He furnished all the flags for us,
US
all the
Congressman
flags.
Wahlberg, he,
flew over the Capitol in
Yeah, the
Washington.
Capitol every
Wow,
time.
wow,
So-
wow, that's
And,
awesome.
and same with the flag we raised out there.
Yep.
Right there, we put one of those up there, but when I started thinking about this and I went to Senator Zorn to see if there was some money in the state that would help put these flagpoles in, and he said, no. He said, why don't we get a committee or something going right there? And then I went to Bellino, I talked to him, and I got about the same answers right there. So then I was told there to get a hold of Sam. So I didn't know Sam at that time, so I got a hold of him at, I guess it was at the fair, wasn't it? Got a hold of him right there, and he said, let's have a meeting tomorrow night at the Little Brown Jug in Maybe. I said, okay. And I walked into the door, and there was 7 or 8 American Legion sitting over here, and Senator Zorn over here,
Oh.
Shepherd's over here,
Good turnout.
right there, and all these other organizations were all there, and from that, it just went on a roll. And
Well, it
then I
helps to
got
get the
hold of,
senator there, they can figure it out,
yeah,
yeah.
Well, you want to know who you know.
Yes.
I was, you know, I called some people that I knew.
Right, that's what it is.
And I said, you know, call some of the other leaders and,
And then,
you know,
we would have a meeting at different VFWs around the county to let them know what we were doing. And actually, we were down here in Temperance, and Senator, or Congressman Wahlberg's representative, Dustin, come in there and presented me with a flag that flew over the Capitol. And so I talked to Sam about it. Our first poll was at the Monroe County Community College. There's a veteran, there's a little cemetery there, and there is a veteran in there. And I told him, I said, let's use this flag there. So that's how the flags got started.
Can I ask you about, since you're mentioning flags, I remember as a little kid always going to the Memorial Day Parade, and that was always so fun, you know, and you'd see the old veterans walk and march, and, you know, there'd be different wars, you know, they'd have the World War II and then on to Vietnam and so forth. Do you have that still, or was COVID, did that cancel
that
this year?
canceled this year.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
There again, AMVETS is, we had one of the founding fathers of AMVETS in Monroe County. His name is Dave Eby. He's a historian.
Mm-hmm.
And he created we call it Tribute to the Fallen. And every Memorial Day weekend, we put this display up down at Soldiers and Sailors Park on Front Street. And it accounts for every Monroe County resident that died in war since War of 1812. And there's over 800 plastic tombstones that we set out. And it's broken down into wars. And, but we still do the Memorial Day Parade. And that was the one thing that bummed us out this year was we weren't gonna be able to do it. The
Now,
parade
these
got canceled, everything got canceled.
Then there's also Veterans Day Parade for the ones that didn't die, and that's, are you gonna do that this year, or is that a COVID?
I don't know I don't think Monroe, I'll have to get a hold of, I'm glad he said something, because Luna Pier usually does the Veterans Day Parade, and I have to get a hold of them and see if they're gonna do that this
I
year.
remember 2 a year, and I used to love to go to them, and there would always be the band and the fire trucks and all that, and the
Big
police.
military trucks.
Through,
Yeah, the
through
ducks, I remember
Monroe,
those ducks.
there's Memorial Day, and then there's the fair parade, the Sunday the fair starts. And, we, as a group, somehow we get in there and, you know, we tried walking, but, you know, you gotta understand, most of our veterans are 60 plus up, all the way up. We've got some that are at like 80, 85 years
There may be a
old.
float for them, you think, yeah. Well, the other one I was gonna ask about, I'm sorry, but is the dogs. You know, a lot of the kids wanna see the dogs, you know, 'cause it's animals, right? Or the horses,
Yeah.
you know. So, do you put those in the parade, or?
It's something that we definitely would. So we have, a baby Clydesdale was born at our farm, last year. And so she turned a year old in March, and her name is Little Blessing, and she's the ambassador of our program.
Oh, wow.
And so we did not know her mother was even pregnant, and ended up surprising us, and so now we have this beautiful little mare, and she's the ambassador. And so we've taken her to events already, and
Clydesdale, look, they can pull the sled, right?
yes, so
Yeah,
we,
yeah.
we do have carriages and stuff at the farm. So
Yeah.
Little Blessings is housed out of a farm called Duke Farm in Temperance. And they are a veteran family as well, so they have 35 acres at the corner of Samaritan and Crab. And they are open as a petting farm to the public, so for $5 per person, you can come to the farm, visit all the animals. And then they always put on, like October 24th, we're having a big event out there, carriage rides and all that kind of stuff. But that is where we do our equine therapy. They have given us an acre and a half to put in our warrior garden. They allow us to use their horses. It is an amazing relationship that we have with them.
Yeah, and then you do something for, I'm just thinking sleighs and Christmas because the weather is colder up here, but
Well, we could.
yeah.
She plays Mrs. Claus.
Yeah, she does.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I play Mrs. Claus.
So anybody that wants to be a Mr. Claus out there, we
Yes.
need one.
Okay.
I'm not Mr.
Yeah,
Claus.
yeah.
Ours moved to Maine.
So
Yeah, okay,
the
yeah.
carriages do go downtown Monroe for the holidays as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
hopefully they will
Yeah.
be back down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Is there anything else that you guys?
You know, the guys talk to them there about the poppy sales. They make a lot of money off that,
Well,
donations.
we've got, AMVETS has, 3 different fundraisers that we do. The spaghetti dinner I was telling you about, we're having our 3rd annual gun raffle, and, those tickets are still available, $5 a piece.
Where is that? Where can people get them?
Yes, send that information to me and I'll post it as well.
Okay, I'll get that to you.
Okay.
But I've got tickets, any AMVET member, so. And also, we do what we call the White Clover Fund, and that money, it's raised, on Armed Forces Weekend, 3rd weekend in May, we sell the little green 4-leaf clovers, and, it's the same as the VFW poppy sales. Any money raised during that campaign each year is dedicated to assisting needy veterans. And that's not all the money we have for needy veterans, but if there are any veterans out there that find themselves in a financial squeeze for any reason, get a hold of us. We've got a website. It's amvets1942 at .wordpress.com.
If you get it to me, I'll post it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of times if you say Sam, AMVETS, and Monroe, I bet you, it would come up with you.
Well, it probably will.
Yeah.
because Right now.
And that's
the-
easier to remember. I think everybody knows you as Sam now, and they're not going to forget
I
that.
got it in my phone, it's Sam Ambet.
Yeah, Sam AMVETS. Yeah, Sam AMVETS. It's just, may as well
that's,
change your name. I mean, name your kids AMVETS,
We've helped people with, brakes on their cars, and,
wow.
we had one gal that she'd come back from a deployment, and before she could actually get back on the job, she'd fallen and gotten hurt, and she was off for like 6 or 8 months, and she was getting ready to go back to work when she finally got a hold of us and said, hey, look, I'm behind on my rent, behind on my gas, behind on my lights, do you think you could help? And that's what that kind of money is for, that goes into the White Clover Fund. And it's just, we sit around, we stand at like Kroger's or the post office or someplace like that, they drop money in our bucket, we give them a little 4-leaf clover.
Mm-hmm.
And all that money goes directly to helping AMVETS that need assistance.
And that's the funding that I was talking about a minute ago, where we reach out to each of the organizations. He's got the White Clover, the DAV has the Forget-Me-Nots, the VFW has the Poppies,
So is the American
and
Legion.
American Legion has that. But each of those funds are all earmarked for veterans only. The rest of the funds that come in are general fund, but you have a certain amount of funds that are earmarked, can't be spent except on that type of an issue.
I see.
And
Well, it should be.
Yeah.
that way you always have something in the coffers to be able to help.
And I found that, if somebody's in a bind for a couple grand, it's easier for 4 different veterans organizations to come up with $500 than it is for one organization to deplete their funds by 2,000.
I have interviewed some honor guards they fly into Arlington, and then they get to, they're older guys who may have served in Vietnam or whatnot, and then they get to march the flag and so forth. Has anybody ever participated in that one? It's a group just like this, it's just a neighborhood group of veterans that go, and then they fly all the flags, above the near the flame, but not at Kennedy Flame, but near there. Is there any Monroe County vets that are in Arlington National Cemetery?
George Custer.
Oh well, and he's from here.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was born in Ohio, but once they moved here when he was 10 years old, and this is where he was living when he left for West Point, and this is what he called home after that. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, him and his two brothers. I think the two brothers are in Woodlawn,
Yes, they are.
but George himself, he's in Arlington.
And I went down to Luna Pier, and I saw this Raisin River monument of some war, and this unknown history. Do anybody know the background of that? Raisin.
Talking about the Battle of Raisin River.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was during the War of 1812,
Yeah.
and the locals kind of got their butts kicked on that one.
You mean by the Indians?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that was the Chippewas, or no?
French and Indians.
The
Uh-huh.
Fagawis.
Stop it.
Which ones?
The Fagawis.
Stop
The
it.
Fagawis. Okay. I think we're gonna get a strike on that.
Okay,
Andy will get it
so
now.
I have,
Wrap around,
yeah,
right?
no, I have a question. So one of our, just to kind of toss it out there to you guys, you can give me some instant feedback and then marinate on it a little bit, right? But one of our veterans who is in the program now, right? He is definitely trying to help us with our funding resources, right? So it's $3,100 to put a veteran through this year long. There's licensed mental health and all that type of stuff that go with it, right? And so but we also are doing one big fundraiser. So we did one this year. We raised about $5,000 because of COVID. Next year, our goal is $50,000, right? We'd love to be able to put like 10 veterans. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot. It impacts a lot of people with that veteran going through this program, right? So he had suggested what about if a VFW sponsors or Region sponsors a veteran? So just to kind of get some feedback on what you guys' instant thought would be with something like that. Because then it would give them also another buddy connection is his thought process with that, right? And not to join your organization, but not that having the behind the scenes, but more than likely they'll become part of your organization, right? And the individuals going through that we have through are the 30-somethings, right? And so we know that we need to have the younger people coming through to sustain the VFWs, to sustain these organizations, right?
Exactly.
So, yes.
Why don't you get Sam and Guy and get all the, no, I'm serious on this now, and all the other commanders for the other, and have a meeting with you.
Mhm.
So you can sit down and explain to them what you need,
Mhm.
and let these guys put their brains together and see what they can come up for you.
Yeah.
Farm.
Yeah. That's why, and one of our veterans came up with it, who was in the program.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what would be so cool is if, a VFW sponsored a veteran, and which I thought it was brilliant, because it's such a simplistic thing, right? But that's not where my focus was, right? And
So all you gotta do is give them a donut and a coffee and you're in.
That'll draw us out anyway.
yeah.
Even if we gotta bring our own donuts, right?
Yeah, we
know
gotta bring
it's-
our own
yeah,
donuts, yeah.
We know it's a lot of money. We know $3,100 is a lot of money, But when it's broken down into what they're going through, right? It's really not,
Oh, yeah.
Because it is the facility they're in. They are with licensed mental health. They have a place to call home after their therapy, right? This is the key component of what we do, right? Is
in normal traditional therapy, thank you for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, right? Call me if you need me, right? And so they always have a home. They never have to say goodbye to us, right? They always have that home. And that's what we are building, is that military community, right? That veteran community, including that family component of it, right? So,
Yeah, it's like their home, like they've said, like in some of the, television things that you had on there, that they have a place to go anytime, basically.
This will definitely lead to further conversation.
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, I need to throw it out to you guys.
Is there any
for
federal
brainstorming.
money that you can get out of that?
Any federal money?
Yeah.
Grants and whatnot.
Well, I'm not saying there are not grants. So our first 2 years have worked strictly on grants, right? So we were given $70,000 from Mercy, $35,000 over 2 years. It is a nightmare and a half to manage. So our goal is to have one big fundraiser a year, right? Which puts a minimum of that $50,000 in, right? And then we want to seek out corporate sponsorships too.
And she's
Will-
doing this all on her own,
we
too. I mean,
will-
she's not,
We will
got a
do
big team.
apply for grants, but it's a lot to manage at this moment, to where, so if we can, you know, along with VFWs or Legion Halls, you know, we also wanna be able to go to corporations and go, sponsor veteran for $3,100, right? And that's gonna be nothing for corporations at all, you know? So,
We are trying to gain other funding through that.
so, and like you said, you have different pots of money for different things. We have different pots of money for different things. So we have our community fund, we have our wellness fund.
Have you opened any foundations? Have you started a foundation?
No.
That's why I say, this is gonna lead to other
It's
conversation.
gonna lead- Yeah, we've got some ideas already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure you do. It's
Well, you
awesome.
guys, I don't wanna keep you any longer. It took us 3 times to get this thing going. Thank you so much, George, for being behind the
Yes.
camera.
Thank you for your service,
And
gentlemen.
all of
you.
your, in my service.
And your lady, yeah?
Yes.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
always forgotten.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I gotta see them.
You're right, you're right.
Being a member of the group.
I apologize.
George, I'm sorry you gotta go back to DC.
Yeah, we'll, well, you
Stay
know,
right here in Monroe County, you know.
yeah, I might, talking to the local owner here, so, I just wanna say from the DC perspective, I can't wait to forward this to the folks back there, because this volunteerism, you guys aren't making any money doing this, right? This is all by you trying to help the vets, and I just want the people back at DC and Pennsylvania Avenue to see this. It'll be really very eye-opening, because then they know that $3,100, I didn't realize for a whole year. My
With
partner,
certified licensed mental health.
Are part of that.
my partner, my research partner was in the PTSD program, and she was a helper, trainer, and here were all these people. I mean, they had heard kids being raped by the Afghani police and stuff, and they wanted to go. You know, they were staying up at night and all this with these dreams and stuff. I mean, if you could just get somebody when they first get back into a stability
Yes.
before they have that outburst with their family and they do something that they regret for the rest of their life, you know, that I think is really a huge
Well,
thing.
I can tell you though, our program though too, services, this is the one good part, right? So when I was in for 25 years, and these guys can probably vouch too, right? You didn't seek mental health, right?
No,
If
Right.
you wanted any sort of progression in your career, you didn't seek it, right? And so,
If there are mental health agencies on bases now, right? You can go talk to them. But again, it's gonna be the same thing, that nobody's gonna go talk to them. It's just not gonna happen. So one of the things that we can do is we can provide that service, right? We provide that,
the component of,
before the veteran leaves, right? So say they're in the Guard or active duty, right, or reserve, right? And they're getting ready to leave for a deployment, like the 180th is getting ready to leave for a deployment, right? Out of Toledo. And so there's all this stuff that happens like 2 weeks prior with your family, right? Behind those closed doors. The anxiety goes up, the fighting goes up, and then the spouse is left on their own, be it her or him, right? And then the veteran is left, right? And somebody like me, when I left, I left. He was not to call me with anything that happened, right? Period, dot. I am mission first, right? And unless somebody died I could come home for, don't tell me anything that happened, right? And so we are a component that can help those veterans those in-service military members, right? Help them through those 2 weeks. Help them with their family and create a community, right, so that family isn't all by themselves. And help them when they come back for that reintegration piece. We know
That's the
that
really,
reintegration piece.
that's the hard one.
Yes.
That's the hard
Yes.
one, yeah.
My wife used to always remind me, we're not your sailors.
Right,
Yeah.
You're not the commander here, you're not the chief here.
right, yeah.
Right, it's more of a
Yeah.
negotiation, yeah, yeah.
Oh, no, she was the captain.
She was the captain, oh, okay.
She'd remind me who the captain is.
Okay.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much.
One
Oh,
thing.
yes, please.
Well, we talked about Will Bruck visiting Angels.
Yes.
Yep.
He's on his 5th deployment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right now, I think he's in Iraq or Iran, one of the two over there.
He's back in Kuwait now,
Is
but,
he?
Yeah, he's in Kuwait for a short
Okay,
break.
but he's been over there since like March.
Yes.
And,
He's not gonna be home for Christmas, and,
well, then tell him what we're gonna do.
well, we're gonna help Visiting Angels deliver their baskets this year.
To veterans.
They have a program every Christmas, it's called Angels for Vets. They collect up needy items for the veterans that Will takes care of, or Will's business takes care of. Last year he gave out 50 baskets, and, since he's gonna be busy, I've already spoke with, some of the other veteran organizations, and,
Yeah, let us know too.
yeah, we're gonna.
How are your guys' Christmas Carol voices? Are you gonna be able to, are you gonna, no?
If you get us to start singing, you're gonna need new windows.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
You're gonna need a lot of alcohol.
I was gonna say that one night at the vet center, right?
Yeah. Will's family is a very important piece to the farm. So
Yes.
his wife and his
Yeah.
daughter come out and ride.
Oh, do they?
So, yeah.
And in case
That's
you're
amazing.
interested,
Boys volunteer
Will
out
has
there.
9 kids too.
Wow,
She's
9
out there
kids.
taking
He's
care
got
of
his
all
own
9
butler.
kids. So.
Yeah.
She stays
Yeah.
home with the kids.
yeah.
But they've got a wide range of ages,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, the older boys help, and the older girls help,
Yeah.
and,
Mhm.
but
They're from toddlers to college.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And you guys
Thank you.
have a blessed night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
guys.
Thanks for your service. Yep.
Our honor.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna turn it on finish.
Okay.
Okay,